Welcome to Niger Voice Television, where we give voice to the unheard.
Integrity is the order of the day in the judiciary. But in Imo State, that test has been carried out. 9 judges were found guilty for fabricating their date of birth, and the National Judicial Council did not find it funny, as the punishment will be for them to retire. In fact, it's a compulsory retirement by the NJC. Journalists from TVC, Babajide Kolade Otitoju, and CK Wondu escalate more and talk about the implication of this fabricated act in the judiciary. This is Niger Voice, where we give voice to the unheard.
Are we gradually witnessing an overhaul of the judiciary? BKO.
Well, this is not new. It is the job of the NJC to ensure that it regulates the conduct of judicial officers. What the NJC has done in Imo State is in line with its mandate. So when judicial officers step out of line, the NJC has to take action. Usually the NJC does not act quickly, and that is one thing I do not like about them. They receive petitions and they waste so much time. Sometimes the judges concerned would have even retired before so-called punishments are meted onto them. But something significant happened. Apart from this compulsory retirement of 10 judges, the man who decided to act illegally as acting chief judge of Imo State, the NJC has recommended his compulsory retirement. I think this is the right thing to do. It is irresponsible for a judge to know that he is the fourth in line, because you can, as the fourth person in line, because it's by seniority that people climb to the rank of, to the position of chief judge. This judge knew that he was the fourth in line, yet he agreed to serve as acting chief judge of the state. What he did was similar to what happened in Ekiti State in 2006 during the illegal impeachment of Delifauci, when after the chief judge of the state, they knew that it was not likely to support their charade of an impeachment. They decided to suspend him. That's the House of Assembly. And the House of Assembly has not got the powers to suspend the chief judge. They now appointed their own chief judge. Their chief judge went ahead to preside over that illegal impeachment that the Supreme Court later threw away, meaning that Fabricate impeachment was not known to law. That judge was punished. I think for about 10 years or so, he was on suspension. Judges who behave like this, who connive with the executive to usurp the powers of the judiciary, they do not deserve to stay one day more in the judiciary. And that's why I'm happy that the recommendation for his retirement has been made. Maybe other judges will learn from this. The governor of Osun State tried to do the same thing, but the man that was supposed to take that position in acting capacity, learning from what happened in Ekiti State, decided not to agree to take that position. But this judge took the position and now is going to pay for it. I'm also happy that the NJC has recommended to the governor of Imo State that it is the most senior judge that can become chief judge. It is not in the place of the executive to choose who should be chief judge for the judiciary. It is their right. In the Supreme Court too, it is seniority. It is seniority. Today, they already know who will be next CGN after Kekereekun. And that order has to be continued. It should not be subject to political maneuverings and all that. So it is good that this this judge has been recommended for compulsory time. It serves him right. Maybe others will learn a lesson from there. And you can see there's something too that they've introduced, which I really like, which is the idea of making public appointments into the judiciary.
Okay.
They will not just make it public, they will request from the public their comments about those individuals. So if people come up with petitions, they will say they don't like this person, they will look at the content of those petitions and decide whether to go ahead to appoint that person or refuse to appoint. And you've seen in some of the latest appointments that they made, there was a judge from Kano that was rejected on account of the petitions that people. So this shows that the judiciary is trying to be transparent.
Yes.
They want to move away from the ugly reputation that they have. They're trying to be transparent. They want to get everyone involved, even in choosing judicial officers, which is quite good.
Thank you, Bikio. Sikir, let me come to you. How significant is this move?
It is very significant. It also, what the judiciary is doing is mirroring itself. And this is what we've been saying for a long, long time. The judiciary, for some reason, is losing some level of credibility, especially from the public. And for that, most often than not, people seems to be losing some kind of confidence in the judiciary. So with what the NJS has just done, it's obvious that they also putting a search on themselves.
A good effort towards transparency and accountability.
Fantastic one for the matter. But let's threaten this further. This is not just only judiciary. Public service. This is what is happening in the public service now.
Okay.
Most appointees or most employers within the public service, federal and state level, this is what they are doing. Forcing them, forging their age, reducing their age. In the past, with all due respect, it's women that we know that BKO. Now women they reduce. No, relax. That's why I say with.
So are you suggesting that?
But now
they want to stay longer than necessary.
Exactly, they want to stay longer than necessary.
Perhaps they contribute more.
Not even contribute more, because most of them they believe that it's just
there are other people.
There are people that so. But you remember vividly some months back, the same thing happened in the Nigerian police force. Where some CPs and even somebody with the rank of an assistant inspector general of police has to be compulsorily retired.
Yes.
Somebody I don't want to mention his name, but it's in public view. That's somebody I personally have so much respect for. He was former commissioner of police in FCT, and they now promoted the AIG for that zone and was oversight. But it was realized that he forged his age and he ought to have retired. So some of them, the current IG has to look into the petition and got them retired. But it shouldn't have ended there, as far as I'm concerned. Just like the judges, they should be prosecuted. Because we have to make example of people. You don't just let them go, just slap on the wrist. You know why that of judiciary is very, very dangerous? These are people that are supposed to be adjudicating on issues like this. If you are found wanting in the area of falsification of your age, where will they take you to? It's the court. So when you now take somebody that falsifies his age to a judge that he himself falsifies his own age, you can imagine the
kind likely to be lenient.
So those are the issues. So those are the
problems. So could this set a precedent for other states?
No, it is. And I believe that they should look at other states as well. All the states in the federation, they will still find more. It is so, it's just quite unfortunate that my state of Imo has been used as a scapegoat. But I believe that there will be so many others within the system, and this is a fact. Because what this does is that it derives other people who legitimately qualify to move to the next level to be able to get into the offices.
Yes.
If you understand what I mean. When you have 10 judges, because there's a limited number of people that are supposed to be judges in the states. And if these people, if they don't get retired, there's no way you can promote other people to take over those positions. So they stagnate that position, and that is what we I socially.
So, gentlemen, this report also cautioned Edo State Chief Judge Justice Daniel Okunbuwa over alleged abuse of judicial discretion. It absolved Benue State Chief Judge Justice Ekwambese, whose suspension by the State House of Assembly was earlier rejected by the Council. Because earlier you said the State House of Assembly does not have the right to sack or remove the State Chief Judge. How do you juxtapose this with what happened in Benue State?
What happened in Benue is illegal. They've not got it. I was looking at them and I saw some people come on air to even defend it. You know, we live in a country where even lawyers are so influenced by politics that they turn the law upside down.
Sadly.
Everyone knows that there is a separation of powers. Everyone knows that each arm of government is independent from the other. The House of Assembly has not got the power to suspend a judge. But sometimes these people, they get prompted by the executive and they go ahead to do what is illegal. I just gave the examples of what transpired in Ekiti and what could have happened in Osun, if not because the next in line to the chief judge was sensible enough to realize that, look, if I try this, I will be punished. You know? So the 3 tiers of government should behave in a manner that suggests that they realize the content of the Constitution, the separation of power, respect the. I'm not convinced that the Chief Judge of Benue did anything wrong. You know, they made so much noise, you know, and in the end, they said they were suspended. You've not got the power to suspend a judge. That power resides in the Judicial Council. You will report the matter. Once you report the matter to the NJC will then take action. You can't on your own exercise powers that you do not have. It's just like those funny lawmakers, 2, 3 of them, sitting in rivers and calling themselves a House of Assembly. We told them that, look, this thing is a waste of time. And I challenged them, those who are defending the thing on air. Because TV stations have now become so wide open that all forms of ridiculous people will come on there and be analyzing nonsense, arrant nonsense. And I said, give me an example of one country in the world where this kind of thing had happened. Nobody could come to tell me that, okay, in this country, 3 persons constituted the House of Assembly. No, it makes no sense. And the Supreme Court was very clear about that. That every constituency deserves to be represented. So if just 3 persons are constitute a House of Assembly, it means that the remaining constituencies outside of those ones that those guys represent have already been shortchanged.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Yes, but let's move on quickly. What does freedom look like for those who have been behind bars? Well, in a sweeping step towards prison reform, the federal government has released over 7,500 inmates across correctional centers nationwide. The initiative aimed at decongesting overcrowded facilities prioritized inmates serving sentences for minor offenses, particularly those unable to pay fines or access legal representation. Authorities say the exercise is part of a broader reform agenda to enhance rehabilitation, promote alternative sentencing, and reduce reoffending. By addressing prison overcrowding, the government signals a shift toward a justice system that is both humane and reformative, one where the punishment fits not just the crime, but the future of the convicts. Sikia, let me start with you.
Yes, I've said it time and time again, there's need for us to be able to decongest our prisons, or what we now call correctional centers. If you go to most of these prisons, you realize that almost close to 60% or even up to 70% of the inmates are awaiting trial. Suspects, because they are suspects, as it were. It's only when you are convicted that you can be called. Yes. So most of them, even for minor offenses. And I gave example of my time there. The one I said now, BK say I'm an ex-convict. But
jailbird.
BK will say I'm an ex-convict.
Jailbird.
But I remember that the stories are always there. When I spent about 10 days at Ikoyi prison as a journalist, I've told him, except he has gone to prison, he's not well. They say he will never go. And that opened my eyes to the workings within the team. You see some people that have been in the prison for almost 10 years for just petty thieves. Suspicion for just issues that could have ordinarily been dealt with, and they'll be asked to go. So that number continues to grow. And that is also one of the reasons we'll be having jailbreaks, because when you have so many people in a particular place for a limited area, then there's always the tendency for you to have something. So I commend this effort, and I believe that starting from the state executive, I'm not always very happy when every 1st October or June 12th or whatever anniversary we have, you see the Commissioner of Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice of a state walk into a prison and say they've released 5 people or 4 people. It doesn't make sense. We have to have a holistic breakdown of those in our prisons and the offenses. If there's also offenses, I'll give you also a classical example of some of this. There were some people that have been released on bail. Do you know that some of them cannot afford 10,000 naira for 20 to live? When I left, I make sure that I pay for almost 10 people who had very minor money for them to get out of prison. So those are the issues as it were. Our prison currently is overpopulated. And also look at the judiciary as well, because we'll be talking about what is the place of ADR, what we call alternative dispute resolution on issues. Not every issue that you take to the court. It's not. That's what we've been taught.
So talking about overpopulation, over 80,000, is 7,500 a good number? That
is what I'm saying. It's not. We have to continuously look at its profile. I know somebody like Governor Solido did something. Immediately he came into office in Anambra State. I saw a number of them were released, but we can still do more. Some of them that have just minor issues can be allowed to go, and that in itself we could. Then these are waiting.
When you say allowed to go, what exactly do you mean? Because I mean, when people commit offences, why should you allow them go when these kinds of offences?
It is not every offence. It's not every offence that. That's what I'm saying. It's not every offence that gets jail term, even across the globe. It's not every jail. That's what in the United States and the UK. That's what is called suspended sentence.
Okay.
If you know what I mean, what suspended sentence means is that you committed a crime, and the court look at it as is a minor crime that you can go. What they now tell you is that in the next 1 year, you must not commit any crime of this nature again. Then you'll be asked to go. Some will be asked to do some community service. They'll ask you to sweep gutter, clean some things and places and the rest of them. But you can't just go, you see some homeless young people under the bridge, you go there, park them, and that's what they do. You go there, they park them, take them before a magistrate court, the man sentences them, and they just dump them in the prison. What do you expect? So some of these issues should be looked into, and some of these minor offenses should be allowed to just, that in itself is also creating problem for the police, because the police has the prosecution right. Theirs is to pick up any criminal and take them to court, but the judiciary itself, and now we're still talking judiciary again, it is the work of the judiciary for trying to make sure that, because you see some of these minor cases, they continue postponing, adjourning, and some instances you adjourn for over 10 times. The sentence you could have just passed, and the people spend more time in the prison than they would have been sent if they had been sentenced. And that is what has been.
That's correct.
Yes.
All right, BKO. Would you consider this a genuine step toward prison reform?
Well, first and foremost, I think the benefits derivable from this is addressing prison congestion, not totally about reform. Reform is a much more broad subject. Everyone knows that our prisons are decrepit in nature. We need modern prisons, first and foremost. And I'm happy that
modern prisons.
Yes, modern prisons, modern correctional centers, since that's what they like to call them now. Some of these prisons are about 100 years already. So these prisons, we look at them, they are very old, very old. The architecture, everything, very old. And there are no good enough beddings in them. I saw a prison, I don't want to mention the place so that they don't go after the people who allow me to come in, where I saw double bunk beds, where the prisoners merely laid cartons, cartons of maybe beer or whatever. They just spread, after splitting them open, they just laid them on it in place of a mattress. So those prisons are in a terrible shape. There's a need to build new prisons. There's a need to relocate a lot of our prisons. A lot of our prisons are located too close to city centers, too close to where the rest of us reside. They are supposed to be located outside our communities. And that's why when there's a jailbreak, within a short time, these people mesh with ordinary people. Yes. You cannot catch them anymore. Because imagine when a prison is located in the heart of town. And that's why,
especially because here in Nigeria, we don't have a comprehensive data.
Exactly.
Yes, once they mesh with the people, it's all over. Back then, prisons were located close to palaces of emirs. Back in the day, and it's still the case in many parts of northern Nigeria. You see the emir's palace not far away from prison, because the emir had so much power at that time. Can send people to prison, can do whatever he liked. But right now, for us to get the best out of even these inmates, you don't need to locate those correctional centers where they are currently. There's a need to relocate them. Look at Suleja prison the other day, when there was a jailbreak. The people, they quickly mixed with ordinary people, because you located it where, literally surrounded by people. So that's one, because we talked about reform. But in terms of congestion, one of the reasons we have this congestion is people unable to pay fines. Somebody who has been, even his own people had abandoned him there, how will he pay the fine? So what we had been doing over time is get corporate bodies involved, get NGOs involved in helping people to pay those little fines that have kept them in those correctional centers for too long. So according to the minister, we have even saved $1 billion from the fact that these guys have helped to get those guys out of the prison walls, because the cost of feeding has now gone down in response to the incremental release of those who ought not to still be in prison. So if you look at it, year on year, we are making progress. 2022, we got 707 people out of the prison walls. 2023, 4,678. 2024, 1,843. So this policy is working. If people only need to pay small fines, we have to find a way to help them to get out of the system. Awaiting trial inmates, they usually dominate the people who are properly jailed. And that should not be the case. I can tell you, when Beko was in Makurdi prison or so, Makurdi, trying to, maybe Katsina prison. So when he was in prison, there were people that they should have taken to court, but because the Black Maria was in a bad state, they couldn't take them to court. It took bare cost efforts for some of those people to be taken to court. And once they took them to court, they were released that day.
Instantly.
Their bails were perfected. Those are not serious offenses like loitering. We still catch people. We still apprehend people for so-called loitering. That can be an offense, especially on environmental sanitation. If you are unlucky, you arrive when the environmental sanitation has started. By the way, Lagos and many other states now, they are coming back. You know, if you are caught, they will take you to Kirikiri for loitering.
So, okay, what should be the alternative to all these non-violent offenses, petty offenses, so to speak?
Yes, you see, unfortunately, the judiciary is overwhelmed. The judiciary is overwhelmed. So there is so little that the judiciary can do in terms of hastening the process. Court processes and all that. There are so many cases that shouldn't even get to court that are getting to court.
That's what I'm saying.
Look at these politicians. In an electoral season, you know how many cases that go to Supreme Court? How many cases will go to the appeal court? So they are overworking our courts by not matters that naturally should not get to the courts. They will take such matters to court. So in my view, we should adopt alternative dispute resolution can save us a lot of time that we waste in courts. It can save the time of the court. So let's pursue that a lot more. It's not every matter that should actually get to the courts. Some of those matters can be decided and everyone will go home happy. It shouldn't be every matter that will take before the courts, and it shouldn't be every matter that should get to the Supreme Court. You know? So, and I also think that just as the ACJA was very revolutionary, we need to come up with more laws that will ensure that cases, the tenure of cases is not unnecessarily long. For example, now, you know, especially electoral matters, you already know when the matter will be decided by Supreme Court. From the first day, you know. So we need to have something like this in respect of criminal cases and all that, so that cases can be decided. There are cases, corruption cases that I know, that have been on since like 2007. What is the meaning of that?
2007. That's about 18 years.
And some of them have not even kicked off.
At all.
Because the accused person began by asking for interlocutory injunction. So some of them have not even officially kicked off. We are still at the preliminary stage after all these years. So things need to change. I'm happy that people, NGOs and the rest of them committed 585 million naira to ensure that those little fines here and there are paid, and so that these people can secure their freedom to go and sin no more. And
that's commendable. But quickly before we go on break, let me come to Sikian. Are you bothered about public safety or reoffending? Because what I know from this report is that this initiative is aimed, is geared toward ensuring that there are no second offenders. Are you also bothered about rehabilitation of some of this released prisoners?
Yes. We have to have some level of attitudinal change, because most often than not, the way we treat prisoners in this country makes it difficult for some of the ex-convicts to be rehabilitated and reabsorbed into the society, starting from their families.
Okay.
Some people get released and they don't ever go back to their family because within their family circle they will not be accepted.
All right.
Then others, just a final one. Even some of them cannot even get a job for the rest of their life. That is what is done. That is not the way in this state. Yes, so we have to. That attitude has to change. We have to know that these are people that everybody, every human being is prone to mistakes.
Ostracize them.
Yes, they ostracize them. Everybody is prone to mistakes. There are some that are not. They are not genuine cases of crime, but circumstances. That's why in law there's a distinction between murder and manslaughter. Most often they are not. Murder is what you intentionally did, what you did intentionally. That's what we call the mantra in law. Okay, the mantra means what was behind your mind when you are doing something. Were you out to kill? Were you out to hurt? That's intent. You seem to have joined us. So the intent matters, and that is what most often than not judges look at. So it's very, very key. But the issue of reabsorbing them into the society is what we need to work on. Not that everybody, once they come out of prison, you just think, oh, you don't need to. So those are the once we're able to, they can also be. Then they themselves also should also look at that. They've been given a second chance in life. Because it's not everybody that has that opportunity. If you go into other parts of the world, some of them became good musicians. Look at R. Kelly. R. Kelly is in prison. But he's singing. PD, I don't know whether they finish his case and the rest of them. By the time he comes out, there are some that are basketballers, there's the rest of them. They also get reabsorbed into the society. Some are footballers. Look at Pogba. Pogba, despite all the crime, although he didn't go to prison, today he has been cyborg in Monaco. So those are the kind of attitude we should be looking at instead of looking at them that people that
gentlemen,
are.
Let's go on a break, and when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Please stay with us, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Journalist Hangout on Sunday, and I've been hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Chris Kende Uwandu. Bikio, let's round off this conversation with your perspective on the importance of building modern prisons and what they should look like.
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, we need new prisons, new correctional centers. I hope I'll get used to calling it correctional centers.
Same with me.
Yes. We need new ones located in the right places and fitted with all of the gadgets that they need to have. They should be real correctional centers, because even schools, they can build small schools inside so that those in prison can actually get some education. And then one big problem we have is that even when people are sentenced to death, there are very few correctional centers in Nigeria with the facility to hang a convict. So when we build new and modern prisons, they should make sure that that facility is there, so that they don't need to transfer people to somewhere else to take their lives, only for governors of that state where the convict's life is going to be taken to refuse to sign. And if our capacity now is 50,000, you know, our prison, our correctional facility, the capacity is 3,000, but 50,000, but we have 81,746 in our prisons, and out of this 81,746, 54,013 are waiting trial. So a number of people,
almost 70%.
yes, they are not, an overwhelming majority are not convicts, and a lot of them could still walk away free.
Yeah,
because who knows, when you put somebody on trial, maybe you don't even have evidence against him, but he could stay there for more than 20 years.
yes.
Without actually committing that offense.
Beyond the time that if he has been convicted.
Yes. So in such a case, their lives are ruined. When they come out of prison, having been set free, there is no way they can recover. You've kept them in prison. I saw the case of a man that the woman accused of rape. And that same woman later confessed that, oh, I lied against him.
Can you imagine?
And he had spent more than 15 years in jail already.
That's it.
So, such things, that's why when they say, oh, this person, bring your evidence. If you don't bring your evidence, we will never agree that the man did it. We are not going to say, for example, that, oh, because this guy is known to be a flirt, therefore, anybody who accuses him must have said the truth. No, bring your evidence. Stop wasting our time. It's your evidence that we are waiting for.
All right, gentlemen, perhaps we need to move on to our next conversation. I have chosen peace in the interest of Rivers State. With those words, Governor Siminalayi Fubara has broke his silence and reaffirmed his commitment to reconciliation amid ongoing tensions with former Governor Nyesom Wike. Speaking during a public engagement, Governor Fubara emphasized that political disagreements must not derail governance or jeopardize the welfare of Rivers residents. Observers view his remarks as a crucial step towards resolving political friction that has threatened to stall development efforts in the state. Let's share the story with you.
After over a year of public discord, the two key figures in Rivers State's political crisis have taken steps to mend fences, and things seem to be slowly returning to normal. Governor Fubara's presence at the burial ceremony of Nyesom Wike's uncle is a strong indication that both leaders have chosen to put their differences aside and move forward. The governor attended another event to update his supporters and address their concerns about the future. Again, he emphasized that sustaining peace in Rivers State is top priority and there is no price too big to achieve this.
I didn't say that there is no price that is too big to pay for peace. I meant it, and I am still ready to follow it to the end. Nobody can take away the role my other played. That's the truth. And if today there is need for us to settle, please, anyone who genuinely believes in me should understand that it is the right thing to do.
Governor Fubara lamented that months of crisis has hindered the progress of his administration, especially in the area of infrastructure development.
Look at the projects that we initiated. Big roads have been abandoned. Look at other things that we initiated. Without this crisis, by now I know where we must be. We know the progress we have recorded. We know areas that would have been developed in these states better than what it is today. So there is need for this peace.
Governor Fubara assured his supporters that the recent reconciliation effort was backed by his political family, and he promised to continue protecting the interests of those who stood by him during the crisis. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Port Harcourt.
All right, gentlemen, there you have it. But, I mean, they say when it comes to politics, nothing is sacrosanct. Gentlemen, do we proceed with caution? Be careful.
Well, I am confident that Fubara has picked up exemplary lessons from this whole affair. If he cannot learn from this, then he will never learn again in his life. Nigerians will push you to the edge of a cliff. They will tell you to take a plunge. When you take a plunge, you are your own. During this period, the National Assembly, they had to vote whether to agree with the president on the matter of a state of emergency. People are making so much noise. Oh, voice vote is illegal. They shouldn't have used voice vote to decide such a crucial matter. PDP governors are going to court. They mentioned the matter of voice vote. That it shouldn't have been voice vote. If I'm truly for you, we die there. Oh.
Yes.
None of the people who go around extorting money from Fubara in the National Assembly, none of them said nay. I can't forget. Because we dismiss issues easily in our country. That nobody who supported this man in the National Assembly, a lot of them were granting interviews, speaking way above their pay grade. None of them said nay. It's significant. Yes, we would have wanted them to put the thing to vote without a resort to a voice vote. But the fact that it was voice vote that they use, does not stop a person who made up his mind to stand on his conviction to say, nay.
I'm sure the
what
government
will
must have
happen to
felt
you?
betrayed.
Yes, I'm sure. If he cannot feel betrayed, then nothing else will make him feel betrayed. And before Fubara agreed to surrender, because this is a surrender, let's not deceive ourselves. Before Fubara decided to surrender, he had seen that he had reached the end of the road. The lawmakers will have impeached him easily. They will have impeached him. Because if you read the judgment of the Supreme Court, the judgment of the Supreme Court literally affirmed that he had abused his office and that he had committed impeachable offenses. Go and read the judgment. Because the judgment also affirmed that there was no judgment, there was no government in that state. As far as the Supreme Court was concerned, if any of the three arms of government is not allowed to function, then there is no democracy, there is no governance, there is no government in place. So he knew from the moment he couldn't control the House of Assembly and he didn't have the political skills to take some of those people away from Wike, I knew that his days were numbered. Wike said something that he was not happy that the president came up with state of emergency. Yes. Because the next step would have been to impeach him. Some people will say, no, it's not going to happen. But before our eyes, it will happen and nothing will happen. He's not the first to be impeached as a governor. And he won't be the last. So he knew that he had come to the end of the road. He then decided, okay, let me make peace. And he said it. I like what he said. He said, we have fought. I think in my own assessment and in the assessment of anyone here who is genuine in this struggle, at this point, if you want to be truthful to yourself, the only solution is peace. I did say that there is no price that is too big for peace. And he went on to say Wike deserves to be hot.
Well, Wike, he had said this before. No price is too big to sacrifice for peace. Yes. That was the way he put it. He had said it before.
Let me tell you.
Asked. Let's see.
No problem. You think a sitting president, the Nigerian president is a powerful one. He does not exercise his power by ordering people who abuse him on Facebook to be beaten up. You can abuse the president, open your mouth and talk anyhow about the president. The real powers of the president, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. The president will broker peace 2 times. You think someone will still go against that? If someone goes against that, you will see the full weight of his powers. He knows what he's talking about. He wants peace now. Let him go and continue. And I'm happy that the House of Reps Speaker said, look, this emergency rule can be terminated even before the expiration of 6 months. They inserted that into their resolution. We expect now that since they've agreed to make peace, that the president will go ahead and let Fubara go back to work. Fubara, as far as I'm concerned, this is remember, he once said, look, before you fight for me, before you say certain things, find out whether I'll be happy.
I remember.
Because some of the people going around, somebody even said, we feel thrown under the bus. What are you talking about? Are you the governor? Were you the one they voted for?
So many comments on
Were you the one they voted for? The person that they voted for, he said, I'm no longer interested in the fight. Okay, go and continue the fight on your own now. Let's see how far you can go.
All right.
How did he throw you under the bus? It was his decision to make. And he took the decision to make peace. Right. There's nothing wrong about that.
All right. But let's go to break. And when we come back, we'll continue and expatiate on this particular conversation. Please stay with us, everyone. Welcome back to Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Fubara speaks on reconciliation with Wike, says he's opted for peace in the interest of the state. And I still have BK and CK here on the program. CK, let me come to you. With how intense that battle was, I'm sure I'm not out of line when I say it was a battle. So with how intense that battle was, would you say this is victory for democracy? I mean, we also heard when the governor said this crisis had delayed infrastructure projects. Would you say this is victory?
It can't be victory for democracy for me.
It can't be victory for democracy?
Yes.
Okay.
Because if we look at the issue of declaration of state of emergency, that is not part of democracy. So I believe that the gladiators would have settled this matter before it got to the point at which the president decided to stay.
Are we sure?
Yes, they say, let me tell you, politics is a fundamental issue. There is nowhere in the world where there is no politics, even in TVC.
Wike, let me remind you.
You are talking CKN.
Minister Wike. CKN.
Yes.
I do apologize.
Yes.
We heard Minister Wike on several occasions threatening and saying he would never have a reason to have a sit-down with Governor Fubara.
But they've had a sit-down now.
Yeah, because the
That
president because it was important. I mean,
but that is what I'm saying. There is no issue that cannot be resolved.
There's no, he was just saying that
Yes, yeah.
because he
Yes.
thought that the president would
We
know.
know, yes, exactly. There is no issue that cannot be resolved. But coming to the matter, I will say that the
time he
governor,
didn't know that emergency rule will come.
of course,
The president surprised both men. And what the president did was to also show that, look, on this matter, I'm the alpha male. I'm the one who can take the big decision. So they never, he didn't see it coming. Just like I didn't see it coming. So the president's intervention has affirmed that, okay, in big matters like this, is the one who can wield the big stick, who can take the big decision. So Wike never thought that emergency rule would happen.
now back to the issue. What Fubara has done, I would just say, is more like stoop to conquer. For me, we had no choice on the matter. If what we've been hearing, some of the decisions that have been taken, which has been reported, none of them have come out to tell us what the decision was.
So
what we'll be reading,
confirm.
so we cannot confirm. But if you read today's Vanguard, it is well explicit. Speculation, the other papers. If what we have heard was the decision that then the governor, as far as I'm concerned, in the next 2 years will remain a lame duck. That's my personal opinion. Because most of his power has been watered down. That is a fact.
Constitutional powers?
The power, it has constitutional powers, but ability to be able to use those powers in certain quarters is watered down. But if the whole essence, because the most important thing we are not talking in this issue is the people of Rivers State. We are just talking about Wike, Fubara. But in all this, if the essence of the reconciliation is for the betterment of the life of the people of Rivers, I'm all for it. Because for me, in the past 2 years, governance has been on ground zero in Rivers. A lot of things could have been done. Rivers received one of the highest level of, what do you call it now? FAC. From FAC, Rivers State. Rivers State have money. But the problem has remained that we're having a godfather, a godbrother, a godson, a god, and people are feeding from the crisis. There are some people who today still don't want that crisis to end because they are feeding from it. But in all this, I just feel that Governor Fubara is the loser, whether we like it or not.
Of course.
Governor Fubara is the loser in all this because at the end of it all, you've got to realize that he has taken so much and he has to eat the sour part of the food.
Pie.
And that is the issue. But all is not lost. 2 years is still an opportunity for him to be able to prove to the people of Rivers State that he has the capacity to be a leader and he has the capacity to be able to. There have even insinuations that, he will not come back, he will not come back. If he has, in the next 2 years, he will be able to deliver the dividend of democracy for the Rivers people. They are the one that will back him to come back or not.
All right, gentlemen,
and not just any individual.
What lessons are in this for both men? Minister Wike and Governor Fubara. Also for other states struggling with the issue of godfatherism and states in internal crisis. We have Benue, we have Obasani and there's Malame Rufai. We have some states like that. What lessons are in for both men and other states like that?
For me, it is a very good one. Because, even to the godfathers now, because when you stand up one day and just pick up a stooge, somebody you think that will be very loyal to you, I say you make him a governor. You cannot determine the mind of a man.
Okay.
We remember what happened in Abia State. Oji Kalu and the gang that succeeded him. In Enugu State, it happened.
Is godfatherism really bad?
Godfatherism is not bad. That godfatherism, other part of it is when our people play godfatherism here, that is the problem. Where you give me, there is a saying in my place, if you give me the goat, release the rope for me now. But you cannot give me a goat. You cannot give me a goat. You still hold on to the rope.
If I release the rope to you, how do I make others stop now?
If I give you a goat,
why you go hold the rope?
I will not hold rope. The problem, let me tell you.
Yes.
Let me tell you. There's nothing wrong in godfatherism. Most of these people can't win elections on their own, so they need godfathers. They need godfathers.
So it's not easy to release the rope,
no, it's not even a matter of rope.
Okay.
It's not a matter of rope. That, in my view, is an extreme example.
Okay.
Bukola Saraki had to fight his father, his own biological father, because the father wanted a different person to contest. That's his own sister. Bukola opted for someone else. Bukola was the governor. He had inherited the structures of his father, so he was now in position to flex muscles. Sometimes, when you put people in power, it's not everybody that can be like Zulum in Borno, for example. They understand themselves. Even the vice president will say, "This is my leader." Yet he's the one who brought him to power. I've seen people that you bring them to power, from that week, they've started fighting you. This same governor, it didn't last 4 months before he started fighting. And what did he do? People are selective in the way they analyze, and a lot of them, because they don't have sufficient knowledge of the issue. So they are bound to look at it this way. One of the first steps he took was to attempt to replace local government chairmen with caretaker chairmen, because he wanted to take over the structures. I don't know the people. Yes. In Rivers, each of those local government chairmen was the campaign chairman in his local government. That was the way Wike designed it, so that they will all work for the tickets. And when he was doing that, refusing to fund the SIEC, because funding SIEC will now mean that SIEC will have the money to organize an election, which will bring Wike's people to power. And he didn't want that. He preferred caretaker. So what did he do? He refused to fund SIEC. And they saw through his plans. They said, no, you can't do it. Wike said, no, you can't bring down the ladder that took you to the top. He was not even talking about himself. This governor, and I dare people to fact check me, even before the expiration of the tenure of the local government chairman, he had already stopped the salaries of those guys. So he made up his mind to fight. Now, if you want to fight in this way, you must be sure that you have all it takes. You didn't have, there was a battle for control of the House of Assembly.
Yes.
He failed. On the moment he failed to take control of that House of Assembly, I knew that he would not be able to survive. So, a more skillful politician will have found a way to lure those people to his side. In all of the cases where we've had this kind of thing, like Chimaroke Nnamani, it was during his first term that I started fighting Jim Owobodo. At a point, they even had the same number of people in the house. But ultimately, Chimaroke grabbed more people to his side. That was the end of the battle. It took complete control. In the case of Ochendo Global, Theodore Oji, who was brought into office by Oji Uzokalu and his mother, he waited until the end of the first term. So the moment he got that second, he was in prison when they conducted the election. Oji Uzokalu made sure that he won in absentia. This is our country. This is the history of our country. Once he got a second term, he turned against Oji Uzokalu and his mom. In fact, when Oji Uzokalu wanted to come back to the PDP, he was the person who made sure that he was not registered at his ward. So he frustrated him, and he was his chief of staff. So, but at the end of the day, the scenario that we had in Rivers didn't happen in Abia, because Theodore Oji completely took control. He had secured the second term. He was not afraid to take the big decision. What will you do to me? Most people, when they want to fight this fight, they don't fight it too early. Because when you show your hands too early, they now know that, okay, this is what you are planning. In your own case, you didn't have federal backing. At least Wike had federal backing. But if Wike had not controlled the House, I can tell you there's nothing President Tinubu would have been able to do for him. Because with the House, with Fubara, they can do whatever they like. They will have run Wike out of town. So if you want to fight, I'm not saying don't take on godfathers. After all, Bukola Saraki took on his own father, who was his godfather. It was his father that brought him to office. I'm not saying don't take on godfathers, but you must be sure that you have, yes, you must have accurate timing. If the timing is not right, you will end up like Fubara. Because he knew at this point that there was nowhere else to go. Where else does he go? All of the people say, no, he threw us under the bus. Which bus? The man is who feels it, knows it. This is his own battle at the end of the day. He's the face of the battle. He's the one who feels it. At a point, he was even confused. Some of the things that he was saying, you would think he was.
I mean, we're happy that peace has returned to River State, and we hope that the governor now faces the very important thing, which
they
is
were supposed to do a ring road, which would have been the best in Nigeria. On the day he announced that the project.
Okay. Huh? Andy, let me put you on hold. We have another commercial break. Okay. I'll be right back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. BKO and CKN are still here with me on the program. BKO, quickly, I want you to land on that ring road project.
Yes, the ring road project of River State will have been the best in Nigeria. I remember when Governor Fubara announced that project, I said, God, this state is making progress. After all of those fantastic bridges that Wike came up with, we now have a ring road project crisscrossing numerous local governments. But what did we see? No progress. And all of you came up and said, okay, represent your budget. Even judicial pronouncements were not being obeyed. Because if Justice Omotoso's judgment had been obeyed from the beginning, we would not have been in this crisis.
All right, gentlemen. Hopefully, the governor does not get distracted any longer. All right, let's move on quickly. It was one meeting, one proposal, and one shared concern, all pointing to tackling insecurity. In response to Nigeria's security challenges, governors elected under the All Progressives Congress (APC) are rallying behind renewed calls for community policing. At a closed-door meeting convened by the Progressive Governors Forum, the leaders explored the establishment of state police, a proposal championed by Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia. They pledged support for decentralized security structures and urged collaboration with federal authorities to ensure coherence and impact. Okay, we're back here. Let me start with CKN. Community policing, we're back to talking about how well are we on course to tackling the challenge of insecurity?
We should be on course. And I continue to ask myself, how come the bill before the National Assembly has not been passed? After several months, how come that bill has not been passed? Because we look at it from the point that the current situation we have goes beyond just policing. Our Nigerian police force. Recently, some weeks back, Inspector General of Police said at the National Assembly said he opposed the idea of state police. Of course, we expect him to say that for his own reason, which I say it's been selfish, because at the current rate, how many policemen do we have? With the high level of insecurity across Nigeria, has the Nigerian police been able to solve that? We are not saying that state police will eradicate totally the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, but it will go a long way, because what means that the states will take charge of policing within their states. Currently, you say, some governors are going to misuse it. Of course, even currently, are the governors not misusing the Nigerian police as it were? Are they not using the Nigerian police for whatever things they want to do against political elements? So the issue of this state policing should have been dealt with.
This one is community policing.
Yes. But even community policing, we're already doing that, because if you see what the JTF in the north is doing when they are embedded, they'll be embedded with the military, and you see that the sources that they'll be able to achieve. In Southwest already, we have community policing in Amotekun. I just came back from a state in the Southwest just this morning, and you see on the express. Every point you get between the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, at every point you see Amotekun. After Amotekun, you see Nigerian police. Most of them, this community guys in charge of community, know the forest more. They know the. You cannot come. You cannot send a policeman from the north, from Kano, to my village in Obo. And you said that you will tell me the places. You will know the terrain in Umuoke. You will know in Umongwa. You will know in Amanze. You will know in Umulogo. It's not possible. It is my people that within the community can be able to do that. And where they now, so we need to energize this and make sure that we have a synergy between this vigilante, as we may call them, or community policing, and our Nigerian police. And what that also is that these are the people that are going to give you the intel to work with.
So clearly, this is long overdue.
It is more than long overdue, and something should be done about it.
All right.
I totally agree. The police.
I think that because of the fact that we are vacillating over community, state police, these governors have chosen to now put greater accent on community policing. Community policing will move us closer and closer to achieving state police. And ultimately, we believe that state police will come to fruition, but we don't know whether even in the life of this administration it will come to fruition, because I don't think the president has shown some excitement about state police. But what the governors are saying is, look, let's have intelligence coordination, greater investment in surveillance infrastructure, focus on the welfare of frontline personnel. You can see in many of the states, governors are paying allowances to policemen, paying allowances to soldiers to protect the state. And they're also buying vehicles,
equipment,
and equipment for the armed forces and protecting their states. And they're also saying, okay, let's expand our investment in food security so that we can ensure that farmers are able to access their farms. Because what we have now, because of insecurity, a lot of farmers cannot actually access their farms. They are scared. So they also talked about grassroots intelligence system and investing in things that will make our security a lot stronger. So what they were talking about generally were not new things. We are just emphasizing what we need to improve upon, which will help everyone. I know that the conversation will eventually get to state police, because I don't think we have any option at this stage. Policing, the central policing structure that we have, cannot deliver the goods. You can see that the soldiers have basically taken over the policing of our communities. Whereas if the police were equipped sufficiently and provided all the tools that they need, even Boko Haram insurgency, the police can handle it, because it's not the sort of threat to our territorial integrity, for example, which is where the army will naturally focus on. Army, police, and air force. It is an internal security challenge, which normally the police, or at best the what's it called, civil defense, should be able to handle. Should they involve the army?
Quickly, does Nigerian constitution give room for community policing, or there may be a need for legal reform?
No, there's no need for any legal framework for that. Even the police have been setting up. They have within the police, they have not a desk. They have a let me say a unit that focuses on this community policing thing, and they go from place to place. I remember when I moderated an event, in fact, the man who sat beside me was the person saddled with that task in the police. So already police, they are trying their best to get closer and closer to the locals so that they can get intel, good intel from the locals, with actionable intels, which they will help them to crack crimes. That is one of the importance of community policing, with every community getting involved. It's not just about vigilantes. How do you support the police with information, that can help the police react promptly to crimes.
All right, gentlemen. Let's move to Edo State. Good roads do more than connect places. They unlock opportunities, drive commerce, and restore faith in leadership. In Edo State, Governor Monday Okwebolo is putting his words into action with the official flag-off of a 14-kilometer road project in Huonwandu local government area, linking 10 communities, including the hometown of his predecessor, Governor Basaki. The initiative, which the governor says fulfill a promise made during a challenging campaign visit in August 2024, is expected to boost rural-urban connectivity, ease transport, and open up the area for agricultural trade and development. Let's share the story with you.
Are you people happy? You remember last time I came here? I came here to campaign. I told you people, vote for me. Don't vote for your son that didn't remember you. I remembered you people offer your prayers. And I remembered women were saying, this road, this road, this road. And I promised that I was coming to do it. It's about 7 months into our government now. We are here to flag off the road. We will complete this road. I was in a community in Edo Central. I told them, I see many people. That local government is already covered. They said, no more PDP. I told them I'm expecting 2.5 million votes for president in 2027 in Edo State. Will you vote for another person? Because if Asewaju is not doing it for me, I will not do it for you. We are now developing. You can see flyover. Are you not seeing it? We are no longer dreaming it, we are now seeing it. Now we are having road that will cut across 8 communities, 14 kilometers in this community. Are you not happy? You will be seeing me here. If the contractor is not doing well, nobody will tell the contractor. I will tell the contractor you are not doing well. We don't start any project of abandonment. We will complete it. If you go to Tamboga, the first day I went to Tamboga to campaign, I could not drive in. Even leg, we can't move in. But go to Tamboga today. Before, you can't pass Benin to Ekpoma. Are you not passing it now? 45 minutes. Before 5 hours, 6 hours. Sometimes you sleep on the road because trailer has failed. With a big signboard. Please, bear with us. This is federal government. Do you see federal government coming to pass our road? Is it not Edo people? So why not do it and tell federal government to refund you?
This type of road was graded during the AT&P regime, during my primary school. Since then, this road was neglected. Are you getting me? Unfortunately, the past governor, his processor, he came from this environment, but unluckily, he did not even thought of helping us. But this governor came on board. He's an Asian man. He's not even a Benin man. May God bless him. He came on board. He established this road for us. First of his kind. And I believe because of this governor have started this road, Nigeria, the federal government, we have enough fund. The state government, we have enough fund. This road must be completed. It's not going to be an abandoned project. If I tell you the suffering we encounter here when we are small, we thank God touching this man. God used this man to help us. The road, the community, right from here, Egualona, you will link it to Iguamo, from Iguamo to Uwe, from Uwe to Oza. When you move through Ohe, you will get to Ohe, then you will get to Okoko, you will get to Ike, you will get to Ogata. If this road is connected, we are already blessed. We are blessed from Abraham generation, but we have double blessing through this governor.
Today, we now know that he's a man of action. He talk less, but action is more in action. So we owe him a debt of gratitude. It will bring speedy development. Like our brothers, our sisters that are building houses in Benin, they can now come home and build their houses. So it's a step in the right direction.
We never see this kind of governor before, because Obaseki come here, come and deceive us, do everything, do this one. But now, let me say, since he never reached 2 years now, be a year now, when he enter, everything changed. This road now, it's a great road to us. We are so very happy.
Now the time of Shomole. Now we see this kind of thing. My heart is full of joy. This thing what will come do for us now. Where we say remove us for darkness. It's that darkness what we do. And as they see me now, I be farmer. I do farm. Anything what they do, we know they see where we go to sell. Now inside darkness we go to sell. So people will come open road for us now. We go to see our anything what we do for you. We go to see better. You go to dear. God what we do. We go to dear. People go to buy for us for hand. And people wait for bread. They don't leave us or go Benin. They come to beat us for here.
This aligns with the 5-point agenda of our distinguished Senator Modoko, who is the elected governor of Edo State. His 5-point agenda is Project Shine, S for security, H for healthcare, I for infrastructure, N for natural resources and agriculture, then E for education. So the I, let's take away the I, that's infrastructure. Under infrastructure, we have road infrastructure. As we speak, over the past 7 months, he has created and built over 173-kilometer stretch of roads. Today is adding on that 14 and linking 8 communities in the whole local government. So that's how it aligns with his agenda. Thank you very much.
I feel sad, very, very sad, that I came here and they told me this is the road to the governor's village. I felt as if I should cry. This is the road to governor's community. By the time I'm 1 year in the office, I want Obaseki to come back here. I want him to come back here and see this road.
In the 21st century, Nigeria cannot be an independent nation without technology independence.
In a world racing towards the future, out of Africa is Zynox Technologies, a Nigerian tech group with major global certifications, proven capacity and a bold vision to domesticate world-class technologies.
From powering critical government infrastructure, homes and businesses, to delivering some of Africa's most
residents who would benefit directly from the rehabilitation of the road say he talks less, but with so much action. What does it say about the governor?
Yes, I think the governor is proving himself to be a promise keeper. When you go to campaign somewhere and you tell them, look, this road is very bad. If you elect me as governor, I'm going to fix it. And we see him going there. What I saw that governor do in just 100 days, I couldn't believe my eyes.
Yes.
You know? So he has shown that he's a promise keeper, and we can only wish him Godspeed as he continues to run the state. That's, he may not speak flowery English and all that, but that's not what matters. As long as you get the job done, the people will appreciate you.
All right, Sikian. Now, what's the political significance of, that road passing through the community of former governor Godwin Obaseki?
Well, if there's one area that I believe Governor Obaseki didn't do well in Edo State is issue of roads, because even on social media during his time, so there was a time that he was wiggling inside a pond by going to inspect a project. And he told us that, it was a federal government road. After he said it was federal government road. And just as this governor asked, federal government does not pass road. It is our people that pass through the road. Yes, he was talking of issue of they're supposed to do, or we do the road, federal government will give us money. There is a standing order now that no state must engage in fixing federal roads, except they get express approval. But with what he's doing, it doesn't really matter to him whether it is federal or state, in as much as the road benefits his people, he's doing it. So I commend him, and I hope that he will not relent on it.
All right, gentlemen, let's go to Kogi State. For communities long battered by flooding and erosion, stability is beginning to return thanks to strategic intervention across Kogi State. Governor Usman Ojodo, through the Agroclimatic Resilience Semi-Arid Landscapes Project, is tackling decades of ecological damage by funding major gully erosion control works in Kaba, Okene, a project valued at over 29 billion naira, from 14-kilometer drainage channels in Omigbo to 17-kilometer engineered drains in Etahi. Residents are not just witnessing change, they're living it, with over 700 million naira in compensation paid and livelihoods restored. What was once washed away is now being rebuilt with hope and trust. We have more details in this report.
Flood waters have claimed many lives during the wet season, displacing many households in Kogi State. To curb this menace, through a comprehensive control and channelization initiative, the Governor Usman Ojodo administration took bold steps in partnership with the World Bank. Last year, the Kogi State government invested more than 29 billion naira on civil works at critical gully erosion sites across the 3 senatorial districts of the state. The project spread across Omigbo in Kaba, Etahi in Okene, Olubojo in Ankpa, are aimed at addressing severe ecological challenges in these areas.
Adavi, close to Okene.
The state project coordinator of the Agroclimatic Resilience in Semi-Arid Landscapes, ACRESAD, Ladi Jato, led an inspection team to the sites, stressing commitment to quality construction, environmental protection, and community involvement. In Omigbo, she explained that the scope of work involves the construction of a 14-kilometer drainage channel featuring 10 large culverts and intersections to facilitate proper flow of water.
Before now, this place used to be a very huge gully. We have about 3 gully heads in Kaba, that is in Omigbo community. This is one of it. It is being caused by lack of enough drainage system in this community that caused the gully and flooding of the community.
She noted that tree planting is an integral part of the plans across the project sites to stabilize the soil and enhance the environmental value of the affected areas.
We're going to do bioremediation. It was actually reclaimed, so there will be bioremediation here where we plant grasses and trees to hold the ground very well.
One of the most significant engineering elements of the project is the intersection of multiple gullies that previously drained floodwaters, sometimes flooding people's homes and washing away farmers' crops.
He's one of the, what he campaigned about, that when eventually get to office, that will reclaim some of the areas that have been degraded. And you can see now there's an evidence of his campaign promises. Yes. He keep to his campaign promises.
Remember last 2 years, almost 100 houses were submerged in water. So what we're trying to do is to collect all the water and direct them to the river. So that's exactly what is happening here. So in Omibo alone, we have about 14 kilometers of drains, different sizes.
The project coordinator said beyond the gully erosion control, government has compensated affected landowners, just as it is providing agricultural support and inputs to help residents rebuild their lives.
They are actually happy, and aside that, the project is also empowering the community through livelihood enhancement to go into agriculture. We have the CRF community, we have the CRF program where we gave them loan to go into farming, and it has to be climate smart farming. We supply them with implements, farm implements. We also gave them tractors, you know, those handheld tractors to farm. So we're actually empowering the people. We're not just restoring the gully or reclaiming the gully, no. We're empowering the people to be able to stand firm.
The contractor reported that the work is 85% complete and detailed the technical measures taken to link all gullies for efficient water discharge.
What prompted you to make it this wide? You know, whenever you are doing a design for a project to be constructed and to do protection for all the city, they take the historical record of the rains. Yes. The rainfall that happened more than 20 years ago. And they tabulate the quantity of the flow going from here to the discharge point to the river. And according to that Q, which is the flow, you can get the cross-section needed to protect the site and convey all the water that have to go to the river.
Community leaders also expressed optimism, with a resident noting that the channelization efforts have improved both safety and living standards in the area.
Where we are standing now, about 2 years ago, one student lost his life here that time. But with the commencement of... when it rained. But with the commencement of this project now, we can sleep sound like a baby. Because previously, whenever it rains like this, we can't sleep. All of us will come and stand by the river because we don't know the next thing that will happen. But with this one now, we can sleep soundly. And it has even boosted the economy of this community because all the iron they are using, the cement, they bought it in this community. So the sellers of those projects, they are very happy.
Probably after the handing over of the project to the government, the local government or whoever which deal with it, they should establish a standing committee or a task force that will be monitoring the usage of this drainage so that people will not turn it to dumping refuse or something.
The ambitious scope of work at the gully erosion site in Etai community in Okene local government area covers a 17-kilometer stretch of drains in addition to 33 culverts. It is designed not only to serve the immediate community, but also to link adjoining settlements in Adavi local government area, thereby addressing a regional flood risk that has led to loss of lives and property over the years.
So what the project is doing here is to construct about 17 kilometers of drain to address this gully, and also construct about 33 culverts in this community to address the gully erosion and flooding here, and reclaim 12 hectares of land where we're going to plant our grasses and trees in this community.
So this site is being reclaimed now?
Yeah, it's been reclaimed.
With more than 700 million naira paid in compensation to reclaim 12 hectares of degraded land, the contractor pledged timely completion, praising the strong support from host communities.
Are there challenges that you faced in the course of delivering this work? Challenges? We had challenges with the rain. You know, this year we had some early rains and we are walking inside the river. So wherever it rains in all Okene or Adavi, the water will come to this place. So during the phase of the construction, we lost many of our formwork. We had much damage to the structure we had, so we have to fix it, remove it, or do it again. And more than that, there's no much issue. You know, the community is being helpful. Small issues, as Madam said, but all in all, in general, the community was very helpful and very assisting to us.
I think over 200 houses used to be submerged in this community, and we've lost about 2 lives in this community before now.
So how long is this? What is the length?
Okay, the length of the drain, the entire drain, is 17 kilometers in this community.
Yes.
I have more than 10 years of experience in erosion control projects, and not only in Kogi State,
from Delta to Edo State to coming to Kogi State.
Yes.
And this river channelization, as you see. When we came here first,
yes,
the house is collapsing. The land that was carried away with the water. Every time it rains, like that place there,
yes,
people were tracking now that it was a river there. People cannot even access their house. They have to use the backside. And even Madam mentioned now the house they pay compensation for. It was already collapsed. And it's a 2-year project, and we never even finished the first year from it. They pay compensation because the house already collapsed, but because of the pace of work, the speed of the work, we were able to protect the house, remove the water from that place, bring it to this side.
A sense of renewed trust in government is evident as business activities gradually return to previously flooded areas, now more secure with the new drainage systems in place.
We don't expect in life that our community will be like this.
Yes.
I can say 2023, before the end of 2023, if you ask Okada to carry to this community, especially this road, they will not come.
They will not come.
Then this gully has carried many people and children. Some houses have been destroyed. But if you see this our community now, it just be like London. So my people are happy, even though they not talk now, they come out like this and see, now we get this place. We thank God. We thank the state government.
The next more, may our people don't come out for this area.
Why?
Because of this erosion, we don't get money.
Yes.
And you came and saw this was going on.
This one. I said, wow. Who is this? Who is doing all this miracle? Our former, with the help of our former governor and
the current one.
We thank for that.
In Kogi East, the inspection team turned its attention to the Olubrojo site in Ankpa local government area. For years, the gully erosion here caused deaths and loss of property. The site now wears a new look with drainage systems and road construction efforts to ensure effective project delivery.
This gully you are seeing in Olubrojo community here, it has been in existence for over 25 years. The gully work here, we're not just addressing gully erosion. We have another component that deals with enhancement and support to the communities by improving their livelihood. So far these communities, they've benefited from the dry season farming, the community revolving fund, the FAO activity, that is the agroforestry. We also gave them implements and hybrids and seedlings to go to farm.
If you know what this environment looks like in the past, it will require collaboration of both federal and state to be able to confront this. But for a governor to come and have that, I don't know how to describe that heart, to confront it frontally like this in reclaiming the already degraded land of most part of Ankpa. Honestly, we have to thank him and then congratulate the community themselves.
He said
she's happy, she's so happy that now she's alive to enjoy the road. That God will still give her more and more joy about this. He said this road, he is part of Okada riders. That as at then, they cannot pass. It's because of the difficulty of erosion. They can't move as well. We thank Governor Usman Ododo. Anytime he comes, anywhere he is, we are behind him. And even though it's 10 times he comes, then we will support him.
I will still thank the President Governor, Allah Usman Ododo, for continuing where you are able to stop. And our Barrister Jatu as initiators.
As the reclamation, stabilization, and channeling of gully sites progress, residents are breathing a sigh of relief, commending the state governor, Alhaji Usman Ododo, for inclusive governance and prioritization of people-centered projects. Babajide Kolade Otitoju.
All right, PKO, well done. Well done. Now, for communities that have suffered huge losses in the past, to what extent has this erosion control system improved lives in these vulnerable communities?
No, certainly it has given the people renewed hope as a new lease of life for residents of these communities. You know, whenever it rains in some communities in Kogi State, the people, rather than being happy, they're always worried for their lives. They will go and stay somewhere, just waiting for the rains to subside. And it used to claim lives of young students and all that. But with the efforts being made and efforts targeted at the areas where this problem is much more pronounced, you can see that farmers are happy now because these flood waters used to wash away their crops. But now the problem is being addressed. And of course, in Kaba, Omegbo community that I visited, the people are happy now because the terror that flood waters constituted to them has now been addressed. So they are very happy. In fact, there are a lot of them very excited, including young people who came out to see us, and to show their joy. So I hope that the governor will continue to address this problem, because if you go to the southeast and you see the damage that erosion has caused, you will not want to see such happen in your own state. So I'm happy that this is being done. Some time ago I was in Dekina, and there was this kind of project. They told me that in one day 7 persons were washed away by rainwaters, because of the same problem of erosion and all that. So, and they are building trees on both sides of the reclaimed gully erosion sites, so that the trees will hold the earth firm, and they will serve as the first line of defense,
yes.
in that area.
All right, CK, let me come to you quickly. What did you see in that report, and what does this tell you about the public perception of this administration so far?
Well, just as I was telling BK off camera, that I was so excited to see Kaba. What is going on in Kaba? Because that was where I served my youth service in 1990. And I knew some of the problems and challenges they have here. So seeing this happening in Kaba is very heartwarming for me. And it's good that the Kogi State government is paying so much emphasis on the issue of erosion, because if you know Kogi State very well and what floods do to Kogi State, there are some years past, I remember the problem we had. I was coming in those days that we used to apply roads. I was coming from Abuja, coming back to Lagos. I spent 2 days just at Lokoja because the place was flooded. The whole place was flooded. So, but that has really improved now. And but that brings me to the question of what other state governors do with the ecological funds, because they get a lot of ecological funds. And if you go to most of the states and you see that this we're having a lot of problems, especially in the south is where I come from. And I hope that other governors will take you from what is happening in Kogi State.
All right, gentlemen, quickly let's move on to our final conversation for today. 4 new laws, 1 sweeping message. Nigeria is open for business. President Bola Tinubu has signed into law 4 major tax reform bills, positioning them as key drivers of economic revitalization and investor confidence. These reforms maintain the VAT rate at 7.5%, shelving earlier proposals to raise it to 15% by 2030. More significantly, households earning 250,000 naira or less monthly, and that's about 3 million naira annually, are now exempt from personal income tax, effectively classifying them as poor under national policy. Slated to take effect in January 2026, the reforms aimed to stimulate productivity, expand the tax base, and uphold fiscal equality. Joining us via Zoom is Dr. Muda Yusuf, Executive Director, Center for the Promotion of Public Enterprise. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Dr. Muda Yusuf. Happy Sunday, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, great
Thank
to
you.
see you again. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you again. So, talk to us. What are the key highlights of the new tax reform bills signed into law by the president? What impact will this have on low-income households and consumer spending?
Well, first, I think we need to commend the president and all those who participated in putting this legislation together. It is a game-changing, legislation. It will help to, sanitize the whole tax administration ecosystem. It will have quite a number of effects. First, there is going to be a welfare effect on account of the fact that many of the vulnerable segments of the society are being given some significant concessions. I'm talking about exemptions in terms of expanding the threshold for personal income tax, which is payee. The threshold has been increased to over 100,000 or more. Then, of course, for small businesses, again, a lot of exemption for those who are in the bottom of the pyramid. Businesses, with turnover of 100 million or even more, from what I'm hearing, likely will be exempted, from VAT, company income tax, and the rest of them. Then quite a number of products that are, consumed largely by the vulnerable people. By the vulnerable.
Dr. Yusuf, okay.
To pharmaceutical products, all of these things are going to be exempted from VAT and some other taxes as well. So from the point of view of the welfare of the people, I think the tax laws is bringing some significant value to welfare. Then there's also the investment effect. Of course, for quite a number of companies, particularly the oil and gas company, for instance, and some SMEs, there are also some generous incentives that are being introduced, to stimulate investment in some key sectors, like agriculture, for instance, like, construction, oil and gas, and the rest of them. Particular sectors that impact on economic development. There are incentives around sectors that promote economic development, create jobs, and the rest of them. Then there's also the revenue effect. Now, the current tax administration is fraught with a...
Dr. Yusuf, all right, so quickly, let me come in there before I allow BK and CKN come in. With households earning 250,000 or less now exempted from tax, what impact might this have on income equality and poverty reduction? How will this affect informal sector workers and those with unstructured income streams?
Well, this is going to have, because when you are exempted from this kind of taxes, I'm talking now about the personal income tax.
Yes.
It gives you a lot more discretionary income. You have more money to spend on other things which normally wouldn't have been available to you. So the discretionary income increases. It increases the capacity of the average family to be able to buy more things and so on and so forth. But this, of course, does not effectively cover the informal sector segments of the economy. Because in the informal sector, we have a huge issue about data. That is why this reform is very heavy on the use of data, on the use of technology. So there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done as far as implementation is concerned, concerning the informal sector. Because most of the informal sector players don't have records. We have, traders, for instance, Kiarin, in Balogun, in Alaba market, in Onitsha market, who are running businesses, with turnover of over $1 billion or more. But there's no structured, account. They don't have audited accounts. So how do you establish what their profit is, what their turnover is, and so on and so forth? So these are challenges of implementation. And I'm sure that the committee is bracing up for all of these challenges. That is why we have this transition period of about 6 months to work out the modalities on how to effectively, implement this without creating too much disruption But generally, it's something positive because it puts more money in the pockets of the small people and increases their discretionary income.
All right. How would you describe how the matter of distribution of VAT proceeds was eventually resolved in this law? Where do you stand on the resolution of VAT distribution?
Well, to the extent that it was highly politically contentious,
yes,
I think it was necessary, without going into either the merits or demerits of it, to build consensus. You know, because it was becoming so contentious, it was becoming a risk even to the totality of the reform project itself. So the consensus that was agreed to reduce the derivation, I think, to 20%, I think went down well with everybody, and it is also good for everybody. But from a professional or technical point of view, a higher level of VAT could have been easier and even generate more money for everybody. I say this because this is an economy which is about 50% informal. Administering direct tax, like company tax, like personal income tax, in an economy that is highly informal can be extremely very, very challenging.
So what mechanism must be put in place to ensure successful?
Aligned with the original proposition. But again, this is about politics. This is about consensus building. So I align with the consensus if that is what everybody wants. But it is the implementation that will throw up new experiences and give us more insights as to actually what will have been best, you know, for the economy and for all the subnationals.
And that is where I'm going to. What mechanism must be put in place to ensure successful implementation? Would a digital or biometric tax ID system improve targeting? How important is public awareness and education in making this policy work?
Did you get that, Dr. Muda Yusuf? Did you get that?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
I got it. It's about implementation. So we cannot underestimate the challenges of implementation of this kind of project, particularly by the time you come, you know, to implementing across the states, you know, at the informal sector level and so on and so forth. For the formal sector and for the big companies, of course, it will be easier because they have a better understanding, they have the technical team to understand. So there has to be a lot of sensitization, a lot of information, and that is why I'm happy that we have 6 months to properly prepare for this implementation. Because, for instance, to centralize revenue collection is also not going to be easy. We are talking about revenues being generated from customs, from NIMASA, from NPA, from civil aviation, or so many agencies collecting revenue. Now we have a very gigantic ambition of centralizing everything, you know, and looking at how they will also get their budget processes. Because when you centralize the revenue, that means the whole amount will go into a central purse. Then you have to begin to give them back to implement their projects. And we know what the problem is with budget releases, budget implementation, and so on and so forth. So there's a whole lot of work ahead. But what is important is that this is extremely very fundamental, very valuable for the economy. And I'm sure that the committee also will not underestimate the importance and significance of sensitization and education. That this doesn't cause disruption in the economy.
All right, Dr. Yusuf, you know, one question that has been asked, or one conversation many people have had since the president signed these bills into law is whether government is prioritizing inflation control over aggressive revenue generation. What's your perspective on that?
No, this is not about aggressive revenue generation. Certainly not. When you talk about, I mean, to use the word aggressive, I don't think is the right word, actually. This is about stopping leakages. This is about minimizing corruption in the tax administration ecosystem. This is about minimizing tax evasion. This is about bringing more people into the tax net. So this is getting people to at least be individually and corporately responsible as citizens. This is what all of this is about. I just mentioned the welfare effect of the tax reform. A whole lot of those at the bottom of the pyramid are now being exempted, whether as SMEs or as individual workers. So it's not a question of putting more tax burden on people. It's about optimizing and making the system a lot more efficient, a lot more technology driven, so that eventually this will enhance government revenue through efficiency, not through additional tax. I mean, we have had similar experience in Lagos. In Lagos, when we had the big jump in tax revenue, it wasn't because there was additional tax or increase in tax rates. It was just that there was an efficiency in the administration of tax. So this is what is being replicated in this instance. But again, I must say that in dealing with the informal sector players, we need to be very careful.
Okay.
So that you don't go and create, issues for government in the way, because you can't just go to somebody's account and say because there's 100 million there, then you should pay so much in terms of tax liability.
All right.
Because you don't know what components of the money is transfer income, you don't know what component is a liability, and so on and so forth.
All right.
So we should avoid arbitrariness in the whole process.
Quite instructive, Dr. Yusuf. Thank you so much. Dr. Muda Yusuf is the Executive Director, Center for the Promotion of Public Enterprise. Thank you so much for...
Private enterprise.
Private enterprise. I do apologize. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. We appreciate your time with us. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's quickly talk about this, Vicky. Do you think this would in any way, improve our ranking when it comes to ease of doing business?
Yes, certainly. Certainly it will. It's something that we had planned to do for decades. Right now, we are going to have a well-structured tax system, because for years the small businesses have been groaning under the weight of excessive taxation, multiple rates, overlapping authorities and all that. Local councils are taking tax, the states are taking the same taxation from the same people that the local councils have already taxed. Look at what the telcos have been complaining about for years: double taxation.
All right.
But we now have a situation in which the tax system is going to be structured. Nothing like double taxation will happen anymore, because the law is clear. The law effectively addresses that. So, and what excites me so much as they say this man has not achieved anything, this president, if a president comes up with a law that ensures that people earning 250,000 and below will not be subject to taxation, I think it deserves to be commended for that.
All right.
So it's early days, but like doctor said,
we must be careful.
We still it's still next year that it will go into effect. So hopefully they can put some measures in place before then.
Quickly, in 30 seconds.
Well, I have to commend the federal government on this. I know the battle that we went through to be able to get this done.
Yes.
It wasn't easy.
Yes.
Convincing everybody within the sector and even politically. So it was but my only challenge is that I hope that this will not be like our laws, because our problem has not been having the right laws, but implementation. I hope this will be implemented to the letter.
Thank you so much.
Lagos has lost a lot of its
yes, to this part, yes, to this law.
All right, the Maestro, BKO, thank you so much for your perspective on the program this afternoon. Thank you. Sikian, thank you so much for joining us on the program, and it's good to see you again. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Welcome to Niger Voice Television, where we give voice to the unheard.